welcome to tonight's Area Plan Commission meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We always start with introductions. I'm John Merson, and I'm very pleased tonight to introduce our new Executive Director, Nicole Schell. Nicole is on day number 3 and knocking it out of the park so far. So she previously was a senior planner at the town of Madison, Southern Indiana, and she comes to us, she and her husband and their little boy Elliot are living in Westfield right at the moment. Nicole has her undergraduate degree from Purdue, her master's from Ball State University, and she is an AI certified planner. So we're really excited to bring her on board and looking forward to a very productive relationship with her. So having said that.
I am Dustin Plunkett, member.
Tad Brainer, member.
Matt Johnson, member.
Oh, sorry. Bob Clutter, I'm the attorney for the APC.
Jay Schomburg, member.
Deborah Luzier, I am Nicole's stunt double just for this meeting tonight.
Very good. Do we have any changes to the agenda tonight, Deb?
No.
All right. We do have a quorum. We have 2 members absent. Donnie Lawson and Carol Cunningham are not with us tonight, but we do have a quorum. So first item on the agenda is the election of the 2026 officers. Open the floor for nominations for president.
I would like to nominate you, John.
I'll second that.
A lofty position. Any other nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will not ask for anybody opposing, so. Nominations for vice president?
I nominate Jay Schomburg. I'll second that.
Nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, very good. And we have to do executive committee?
Yeah, well, third member for the executive committee. Previously it was Tad.
Tab, would you like to be?
Sure.
All right, I nominate Tab.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. So on the public hearing, the way we do this, Deb will read the petition into the record. The petitioner will come forward, state their name and address, and write the same on the tablet provided at the podium. After Deb has read the petitioner has the opportunity to explain what the petition's about. At that point, we let anybody from the public that wants to speak for or against the petition have that opportunity. Then the petitioner, if necessary, has the opportunity to offer up any rebuttal or explanation. And then we close the meeting to the public and open it to the board for discussion and a decision. So, Deb, petition number 1.
Petition number 1 is 25CL-7M-241. Petitioner is requesting approval of a special exception to allow a minor residential subdivision on property in the agricultural district. The property involved contains 33.93 acres and is located at 3051 East, 700 North in Clinton Township. Petitioner and property owners are the Mulliken Farms, Donald W. Mulliken and James R. and Patricia A. Garland Trust, and James R. Garland and Patricia A. Garland. Property history: the parent parcel has already been divided into 2 lots outside of the subdivision process, a 6.8 acre lot along 700 North and a landlocked 27 acre parcel to the south. Petitioner intends to split the smaller parcel into 3 lots for single family residential development, resulting in lots 1, 2, and 3, each approximately 2.15 acres and accessed via East 700 North. Lot 4 would be listed as a non-buildable 27-acre lot for farming purposes, but will have a 45-foot access easement along the west side of Lot 1. The barn's legal tile drain runs through Lot 4, and a drainage easement has been established to drain this along the back sides of the 3 lots. Agricultural and residential uses surround the property. The Technical Advisory Committee reviewed this petition on November 19th and had the following comments. Health Department had no issue with the special exception. A soil report has been conducted for all 3 lots. In general, the soil borings for all 3 lots are suitable, and an in-ground septic system and perimeter drain will be required due to the seasonal high water table. Soil and Water Conservation District had no comments on the special exception. Due to the high water table and prone flooding, basements are not recommended. Surveyor noted that the first floor elevation of all lots needs to be 15 inches above the center line of the road. The subsurface drain tile needs to provide an outlet to all 3 lots and be shown on the plans and sign a drainage easement, and they have done that. Drainage permits for any lot will need to be issued, or will not be issued until all 3 lots have that outlet established. The easement shown on the plat to the county tile needs to be redrawn to reflect where it actually is installed, and basements are not recommended. They have provided that easement and shown exactly where it's located. Highway Department said if approved, a drainage permit or driveway permit will be required since a change of use is being proposed. They refer to the proper drawings and driveway requirement ordinances, and for typical mailbox and mailbox approach requirements, as well as typical culvert details with open ditches. The petitioner can find all this permit information online, and for submittal, a detailed plot plan including existing contours needs to be submitted with the permit application. Specific permit details are as follows. Permit type will be residential driveway. Number of driveways to be permitted is 1 per lot. Permit fee will be $200, and a bond will not be required with this permit. Site-specific details are as follows. A positive outlet for the roadside drainage ditch shall be shown on the plat for all lots 1, 2, and 3. Any drainage structures needed to maintain positive flow shall be shown on the plat and shall be in accordance with the Boone County standard. Minimum 12-inch diameter structure, minimum 12 inches of cover required over new pipe. This may require excavation and regrading to be completed by the permittees along the frontage of the adjacent lots. A mailbox and mailbox approach shall be installed per the Boone County standard drawing. Mailbox approach shall be a minimum of 30 feet in length. Mailbox face shall be a minimum of 3 feet from the edge of the roadway. The road shall remain clear of dirt, debris, and construction equipment materials during construction. As outlined in the general permit terms of the driveway permit, all drainage improvements necessary to maintain positive flow are the sole responsibility of the permittee and shall be completed as part of the driveway permit. The site plan that is submitted at the permitting stage needs to include a plan for the road frontage also. Per ordinance 2310, right-of-way dedication is required to the width of the specified in the thoroughfare plan due to the change of use of the property. The Boone County Thoroughfare Plan indicates that East 700 North is a local road. Therefore, right-of-way dedication of 40 feet is required along the road frontage of all parcels that are non-buildable lots. The right-of-way shall be shown on the plans and can be formally dedicated as part of the plat process. Follow the procedures outlined in Exhibit A of the TAC comments for this process. Right-of-way dedication documents can be found online, and the Highway Department will also need a copy of the recorded deed submitted with the document. Planning Department noted that to prevent Lot 4 from being landlocked, an access easement should be provided, and that has been done. Staff recommends that the APC approve the minor residential subdivision with the following conditions. We had asked that the plat include signature lines for the Boone County Surveyor and the Highway Department Director. Where appropriate, all TAC comments shall be addressed before the plat will be signed. A recorded commitment shall be made and a note added to the plat regarding the right to farm commitment. A recorded commitment shall be made and a note added to the plat that none of the lots in this minor plat shall be further subdivided without BZA and or APC approval.
Eliminate that. Okay. Is there someone here to speak for this petition?
I'm Pat Garland, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to speak to.
And you can just tell us your address.
6845 North, 300 East, Lebanon.
Okay. And are you representing the petitioner?
Yes, I am.
All right. Do you want to add anything additional to Deb's comments?
I don't believe so.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this petition? Seeing no one approach the podium, we'll close the meeting to the public and open it to the board. You did a great job, Pat. All right, so we start on the board comments. I do want to address the requirement in the staff report for the recorded deed and the signatures of the surveyor and highway department. I believe that we had previously were going to not require that
Okay.
until the commissioners weighed in on what was appropriate and what was not appropriate.
Okay.
So any motion addressing this, I would like to have that language included in it, so. Dustin?
I thought that was gonna be our,
Yeah.
that was the compromise, wasn't it? That they would just sign off on it? that
Not
wouldn't
the
stop
deed part.
approval?
Not the deed part.
Not-
Is this okay to do, Bob?
Yes, it is.
It's a dedicated right of way, but not a recorded
Just-
deed.
It just says the plat shall include. Doesn't say the deed. Right?
With regard to,
Reread the line that you read about the deed, that it would be recorded on the deed, I believe.
a recorded commitment shall be made and a note added to the plat regarding the right to farm commitment?
No,
Oh.
about the
The
right
recommendation.
of way. Yeah,
The plat shall include signature lines for the Boone County Surveyor and Highway Department Director.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
That was
was it.
it.
there's no reference made.
No conditions
deeding.
regarding the
No.
deed.
No conditions regarding a deed.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I think-
misunderstood then.
I think that's
Yes,
their,
I did too.
their compromise, isn't it? That they are not gonna be requiring it on the deed.
Okay.
Or they're not gonna be requiring a deed. It's just that the plat shall include, the plat shall show it as dedicated right of way.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not a,
Yes,
Forfeiture of land,
correct.
Yeah,
Yes, that information is correct.
that's a
All
good
right.
way to put it.
Yep.
yeah, all right, very good. I misunderstood. Right, Dustin, comment?
No, I thought it was just the APC signing off on it. I didn't think they were still gonna have to sign off on it. Was that, am I mistaken on that?
Did the commissioners ever actually weigh in on this? Has it ever been presented to them? It was going
don't think
to
so.
be, but I don't believe it ever was.
There's two of them here, so maybe they can
well, and the way it reads,
elucidate us.
the way it reads, it just says that plat shall include signature lines. It doesn't say that they have to sign it.
Well, that was the intent of it.
That's implied, but it doesn't say that.
Tim Byer, County Commissioner. I did have a conversation with Beth, and it's my understanding that just the right-of-way on the plat is sufficient.
No additional signatures?
Don't need signatures?
Don't need the
That,
signature line.
yeah, that's a different
Different
issue.
As far as the separate deed,
But everything else stays the same? then,
Yeah.
essentially? Just so they show that they saw it?
Yeah.
It's basically a stopgap, so Highway Department surveyor have seen the plat
I like that.
and they're good with it.
Yeah, that helps us.
Okay. Back to you, Dustin.
More questions?
Okay.
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions.
Ted? Or not Ted, Jay, sorry.
No question.
All right. Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve
I'll
with
second
the contingencies.
Been moved and seconded that we approve 25CL-7M-241 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, very good.
So to clarify, we do want the signature lines for highway and surveyor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. But no deeded,
no deeded right of way.
correct. All right, next petition.
Next is petition 25WA-16-143. Petitioner is requesting approval of a rezoning of subject property to I-2 heavy industrial. The subject property is currently zoned agriculture, contains approximately 7 acres, and is located approximately a quarter-mile east of US 52 and a half-mile south of US 47 in Lebanon. Petitioner is Irving Materials, and the property owner is Lawson Farms. Property history: the subject property is owned by Lawson Farms and is being created by subdividing from the property owned by Lawson Farms. The newly created parcel does not have public road frontage, and the only access to the property is from a 35-foot driveway easement. In 2021, the BZA granted a conditional special exception for a concrete crushing facility known as Lawson Aggregates on the 15 acres of property immediately to the north of this petition. The facility is in operation but comes up for renewal in October of 2026. Petitioner is requesting to rezone the subject property from agricultural to heavy industrial. Petitioner is proposing to construct and operate a ready-mix concrete plant and is also proposing voluntary commitments to limit to only the proposed ready-mix plant itself. The Technical Advisory Committee initially met on August 6th to discuss the petition. Health Department noted that the applicant must apply to the Indiana Department of Health for commercial on-site sewage system plan submittal and review process. Once the project has been approved by the state, a local permit would be issued. Soil and Water Conservation District had no comments or concerns. Surveyor noted that asked if the special exception for Lawson Aggregates limit to the time frame of the work being done along I-65 and then to be restored to the previous land use. The existing storage yard needs to be brought into compliance based on the original drainage permit along with the Rule 5 erosion plan that was approved by the Soil Conservation Service. The site needs to be brought into compliance. The county tile on this property is a subsurface field tile and was designed for agricultural use, not industrial development. A new drain would need to be constructed to provide an adequate outlet for the drainage from this site. This will entail running a new drain off-site to the open ditch. Development of the site will be required to meet the Boone County Drainage Ordinance and standards. This will be a hot spot and additional water quality measures will be required. Highway Department said the Boone County Highway Department does not support this zone map change without infrastructure improvements to 450 West and the intersection with 52. There is currently adequate infrastructure to facilitate the traffic for this use. 450 West is a local road and is not built for commercial traffic. Traffic accessing the site will use 450 West, and that will cause continuous maintenance issues for the Highway Department. Issues from prior commitments regarding Lawson Aggregates for repairs to 450 West shall be completed before the Boone County Highway Department would be in favor of this zone map change. If the zone map change is approved, the site needs to be designated for traffic to use 450 West to US 52. If traffic for this site is using 450 West to the north from State Road 47, improvements to 450 West will need to be made at the expense of the petitioner. Planning Department, this lot lacks road frontage to be considered a buildable lot. The ordinance states that all lots shall abut on a street. Also, the ordinance states that no land shall be subdivided unless the intended use of the individual lot is in conformance with the zoning ordinance. The legal description shows as Tract A, so it was completed, but is not currently considered buildable at this time. The petition was originally proposed as I-1, but after review, the use would need I-2 zoning. The application has been revised accordingly. The current maximum height of a building in the Ag District is 25 feet. The maximum height in the I-2 District is 75 feet. This is 3 times taller than anything around. Also, both Ag and I-2 lots require 45 feet of road frontage. While everything around this property is agriculture, the property to the north was approved for an aggregate crushing operation, which is permitted in Ag by special exception. The proposed use is compatible with the approved industrial use to the north. The future land use plan for Washington Township states mixed-use commercial and light industrial development is anticipated at the intersection of I-65 and State Road 47. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission forward the rezoning to the legislative body with a favorable recommendation with conditions. 1, the voluntary commitments proposed and amended by the applicant shall be included. The commitments regarding the Lawson Aggregates project shall be reviewed, inspected, and satisfied before the development plan for the proposed site can be filed. The technical advisory comments shall be addressed at the appropriate times, and commitments and an agreement for roadway improvements that satisfies the Boone County Highway Department shall be made.
All right, petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kent Franzen. I'm an attorney with Parr Ritchie here in Lebanon, and I represent Irving Materials Incorporated, also known as IMI. With me here tonight are 3 people from IMI, at least one of whom will speak. Calvin Kingery is the CEO of IMI. Mike Brown is the president of the Indiana Concrete Division. Mike's here on the left. And Chad Hayes is the vice president of the Indianapolis region, involved in more on the operational side of the business. I want to make a couple of corrections to the staff report, and it's a little complicated because this was filed originally and there have been some changes made. For example, she mentioned that there's no frontage on County Road 350. Actually, they're now at 450. There actually now is the 45-foot, what she called a driveway easement is no longer, it's not a driveway easement, it's a deed, it's part of the deeded property. So the legal description of the property in question has gone from 7 acres, which is the rectangular box there on the screen in red. That's the site of the batch plant, but also it will have the additional 2.87 acres, which runs down to County Road 450. My handy dandy map I created at the top there, I've got that as County Road 450. That's actually County Road 350 west. I'm sorry for that mistake. County Road 450 is the next road to the west of this site. So it's a total of 9.87 acres. It does have frontage. It's one lot. It will be one deeded parcel. It will be purchased by IMI if they get the necessary approval to do the project. Now, there will be an easement going to Lawson, so that Lawson can use it to access the crushing operation on his property, but it will be IMI property. This is an application to rezone. It's a map change from ag to I-2, which is defined as general industrial under your zoning ordinance, I believe. It's needed to allow a ready-mix concrete plant on the 7-acre parcel. Primarily the reason why it needs I-2 zoning as opposed to I-1 is because of the outside storage. You can't have outside storage in an I-1. And so there is some outside storage of sand and aggregate material that's kept inside the confines of the plant area, but because it's outside, it needs I-2 zoning. The land is owned by Lawson Farms Incorporated, which is Danny Lawson and Jane Lawson's property. Donnie Lawson, who's a member of this plan commission but not here this evening, is not affiliated with that entity. He's not an owner of this land. He has no economic interest in this property or this project. So I would make that comment whether Donnie was here or not, but he is eligible by law to vote and participate in this process, both at the plan commission level and at the county commissioner level, if he so chooses, because he does not have an economic or an ownership interest in the project. And that it's a matter of state statute, and there's been a court case that was decided. For those of us older, you may remember Garland Farrell was on the county commissioner board, and he had some land south of Lebanon that was proposed for development, and his family owns some land. I'm sorry, he didn't have the land. It was his family, but he had no interest in it, no ownership interest in it. There was a challenge to the vote of the rezoning of that property, and the Indiana Court of Appeals said that he was perfectly eligible to vote if he was interested in doing so because he was not barred. He had no conflict of interest under the law. He might not even like his brother. You know, I'm joking, of course, but he's not a participant in this proceeding. So I just want to pass that out. This property is part of a 440 acre, it's a very large field that extends from, on the west, it's bordered, almost goes all the way to US 52, but it actually goes to 450 west. Then it goes north to 47, along the south side of 47. It goes east all the way to 350. So it's a large field of 440 acres. And this rock crushing operation and the recycling yard that was granted a special exception roughly 4 years ago that you see on that drawing, I'm sure you're familiar with it, you recognize it. That's part of Lawson Aggregates land, actually. I've got some photographs I want to go through. If Nicole could help me, then I'm going to have Calvin come up and just I'm going to let him do most of the presentation tonight because he knows this business a lot better than I do. You can go forward, Nicole. I've got a few pictures. This is a couple of pictures of the plant. We have a model we'll show if you really are interested in it. Keep going, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to Calvin. This is they build these. They have about 90 of these around Indiana, and they're all pretty much the same. Some variation. Calvin or others can talk about the slight variation that might exist from time to time. Obviously, that's not this plant. This plant has not been built, but that's pretty close to what we're talking about. Keep going, Nicole. And the inside of it, what we're dealing with. Again, continue. The layout of the 7-acre site with the 45-foot frontage or drive or whatever you want to call it. It's a flag lot, essentially. Keep going. Now, these are pictures taken. This is toward the front of this private lane. It's a private drive that goes back to the east that's used currently in the aggregates operation. That's the first thing you see when you come off of 450 and start to head east down this road. Again, another picture. Then you start going further east and you look back at the crushing, the recycling operation. Go again, please. That's a little bit closer up. You can see a little more detail of what goes on back there. Go again. Another closer in photograph. Again, this is looking at the site from the north. That picture was taken looking southbound from State Road 47. The aggregate operation, the crushing, the recycling operation. This is a totally separate parcel from the 7 acres that the batch plant or ready-made ready-mix concrete plant will be on. They'll be adjacent to it. What's my next picture? I can't remember, if anything. That's some buffering. We'll talk about that. We'll go ahead and finish out the pictures. Next slide. That's a lighting plan. Next slide. That's a map that we created showing where this property is and where some of the nearest homes are. And we measured distances to show the linear distance between this site and the nearest residential properties. It's essentially half a mile at the shortest and 3/4 of a mile at the furthest distance. There's been some criticism of me for saying that there are not homes in the vicinity of this property, this site. It's a matter of definition. In my world, neighbors are usually next door or closely. In the zoning world, we often deal with people who are adjacent, very close. And so I describe these people are more remote than what we typically deal with. But they're there, you can see where they're there, and they certainly have every right to comment and oppose or support this application. But it is a significant distance in all directions to any property. Is there another slide? Was that it? Oh, the commitments. We'll get to the commitments. We've made some voluntary commitments. This is a work in progress. There are 2 or 3 of them that are very significant, maybe more than that. This is a water map that shows, this is from a state water study. The star there is the red star at the top left. That's actually the 47 Commons site. This map is used in the 47 Commons PUD proceeding. This site is about a half a mile due west of that, but still within that water area drawing. I think that's the last picture, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Calvin, if you could come forward, I want to ask you some questions. First of all, give the members of the commission a little bit about the history of IMI.
Yeah, so Irving Materials, we're a privately held company, established Irving Materials in 1946. We, I think Kent said it earlier, we operate roughly 90 ready-mix plants throughout Indiana, 200 plants throughout the entire footprint in which we operate, which include Ohio, Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. We employ roughly 3,500 people throughout. I do think that we pride ourselves on the simple fact that we operate as locally as we can, and we're very engaged in the communities.
Do you have a facility currently in Boone County?
We do currently have a facility in Boone County. One might be asking, why do we need another facility? If we get the approval to move forward with this, we will do away with our specific location in the city here.
In the city, and then there's another one south of Lebanon in the county as well.
There is in Whitestown as well.
And that's on 52, US, the old, what they call Indianapolis Road,
Correct, yes.
on the west side of I-65.
Correct.
So you'll be closing both of
No,
those?
no, we will only be closing the one in the city of Lebanon. And to further elaborate a little bit, the purposes of this plant, and realistically the purposes of the existing Lebanon plant here in town, are to meet the everyday needs of the local community. These are not established as big productive plants like you need for the Meta or the Lilly stuff that's going on. Our full intentions are to continue to operate that Whitestown location for the big work. We will supplement occasionally when needed, when you have high volumes, this plant. But this plant will be a smaller productive plant that's more general use for the community and the day-to-day business, not these big projects that come in and go.
So the one, are we allowed to ask questions now, John?
Sure.
Okay, the one that's over off 267, that currently is for high production.
Correct.
The one that this is going, that you're presenting here, this is similar to the size of what's in town here now?
Correct, just a much updated, and as you can see, that's an old, outdated, needs a lot of
Beautiful.
attention plant. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Doesn't help our
Proud.
cause in any way, shape,
No, it does not.
no.
Been there a long time, 60 years, give or take.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Macy's started in probably the late 50s.
So let's plug along. We've used the term batch plant, we've used the term ready mixed concrete plant. Why don't you tell the plant commission members what those terms mean and what you call this plant?
Yeah, I think the biggest point here is I don't want anybody to be confused. We are not a cement producer. We do not have a kiln or a mill. We produce concrete, ready-mix concrete. So what we do is take aggregate materials, mix that with water, sand, gravel, or stone, and then put cement, which obviously produces concrete. There's sometimes confusion in these scenarios that we are a cement mill or a cement plant that releases green gases. That is not the case here.
So that's what will go on this plant. The material will be brought in and mixed and made there and then hauled out to the project site.
Correct. We will have cement that's hauled into site, that is put into silos. One might ask later that cement, the cementitious material or the dust released from that can be problematic. However, we put new upgraded dust collectors, and almost 99% of anything going into those silos is captured in these dust collectors, so it's not released into the air on these newer plants.
And you're regulated by the government to make sure that you're not violating the clean air laws, correct? So how was this location selected? What's attractive to your company about this location?
The attractiveness to this location is obviously more so the way the community looks to be going. It's in a radius that meets our needs. We're only allowed to go so far with a ready-mix truck or a product before it's not of use.
And how far is that?
Typically 30 miles. We don't like to look past that 30-mile radius. And the other thing that comes into play is just the demand of this area. We obviously have a plant in Frankfurt, we have a plant in Whitestown, and a plant in Westfield, which are capable of accommodating some of these needs, but with the busy workload that they have, we can only do so much out of a facility.
So after a distance of 30 miles, roughly 30 minutes, give or take, what happens to this concrete? Why can't you haul it to Lafayette or Kokomo from this site or other?
It will harden over a certain amount of time.
So that's why you have so many of these plants over your service area.
Correct.
What else about this location seemed attractive to you?
To us, I mean, in reality, I get that it's in an open agricultural area, but there's not a big surrounding of houses around it, so that's a little bit desirable for us in regards to any sort of disruption to the communities. And again, just the logistics, it's easy to get to where we need to go.
Is there a perception that you deal with in your business that people don't want these batch plants or ready-mix plants near their home?
Absolutely, perception.
Is there, in your opinion, is there a legitimate concern about what goes on in your plant that would affect their quality of life, or is it just a perception issue?
I don't think that there's anything that affects their quality of life. I think that anybody probably doesn't want to have a ready mix or a manufacturing facility out their back door. I think that's a known fact. But at the end of the day, this community needs concrete. We supply a lot of concrete to everything that's in this community. That's what our intentions are to do.
And what are the uses for concrete? I mean, just for the record, I think we know, but give us an example. Who are your customers?
Our customers can range from a weekend warrior that might be doing a patio or a sidewalk improvement to a heavy commercial highway constructor or an F.A. Wilhelm, or a lot of these people that you see out at Meta or Lilly.
How about farmers? Do farmers use
Farmers
concrete?
do as well.
What do they need?
Silos, barns, slabs, homes, all the above.
Why do you need this plant? Is it primarily because your old plant on West Street is just inadequate and not up to standards, but you can't just eliminate it without being short in your customer demands?
Yeah, the driving factor is just the demand or the workload that's becoming in this community. We have to have a plant somewhere within the region of the Lebanon area where
Now,
it's at.
we know with the 47 Commons project, which was approved in the last year through this plan commission and county commissioners, they have a Shelby concrete plant, correct? You're familiar with them? Will their facility be similar to what you're talking about on this site?
More than likely, yes.
And would you have the need for this plant on the Lawson property, whether Shelby was there on 47 Commons or not?
Yes,
Is there enough work and enough need for that product in this area?
absolutely.
Let's talk about staffing. How many employees will be there?
We would look to take our existing employees again at the in-town Lebanon facility. We currently have 7 employees.
And where do they live?
All of them are in Boone County.
They live in Boone County, they work here, and they just move up north, correct? What would be the normal hours of operation?
Normal hours would be ideal, like a 7 to 5. I'm not gonna sit here and candy coat that there might be days where we get outside of those particular operating hours. However, I do wanna stress that this is not intended to be a 24/7 operating facility. That's what we'd use that mega plant that we've got in Whitestown for.
How would traffic get in and out of your site?
All traffic would come from State Road 52 in and out.
All right, so there would be any driving on any county roads other than the small section of 350 that you get from the highway back to the private lane?
No.
No, it's 450, right?
It's actually, that's 450, you're right. 450 is the road you hit when you first get off 52. When you get back to the site, that's 350.
Right.
Okay, thanks for correcting me on that. You've already mentioned the clean air requirements of the law. Let's talk about noise. These things generate a lot of noise.
They can, yes. However, in some past studies, which we'll share with the group, we typically have noise decibel readings that take place in our new facilities. And of our most recent, which would have been Westfield, typically the parameters are not to be above 80 decibels on the property line, and I don't have any concerns of us going over 80 decibels, more than likely below on the property
And you
line.
understand you would be expected to comply with the Boone County noise ordinance, which I believe that would comply with.
Correct.
And the distance, the linear distance between this site and any residential property is a pretty long distance, is it not?
Correct.
What about the cleanliness of the site? What do you try to do with your sites?
Yeah, so again, we talked about the dust collection. The other thing that we might do on the super dry days is water down the area so you're not producing dust from the truck traffic coming in and out. But, you know, it's stressful to sit here today and talk about this facility that we have in Lebanon, which is extremely outdated and extremely not well taken care of. And the whole mission of this is to put a newly updated plant or facility in place that's kept clean.
What about lighting? We saw a slide earlier that showed a lighting plan. What kind of lighting do these sites have?
These would be directional lighting, which is meaning more so facing down. And again, this is in an area, if this were to be approved, that the lighting is not going to be intense. It's not an area where we're concerned about people breaking in like we might have in some other areas.
Not a lot of work goes on in the darkness hours at this site.
Not at this site.
What about security, fencing, that sort of thing? What's your plan? Are these details finalized yet?
No details finalized. We'll work with the community and what they desire within reason. However, the plan right now, which is typical, is berm and trees around the facility.
So you use the berm and trees as a visual barrier, not necessarily to keep people out, but to improve the appearance, correct?
Correct.
But if you have to, you would put a fence around it.
If necessary.
Tell me about the berms and the trees. There's no plan yet in place. And is that because we're not at the development plan stage and we would want staff's input, plan commission members' input, public input about what sort of screening, visual screenings they would expect? Is that fair?
Fair.
And are you willing to do whatever is reasonably required of you to make this site acceptable to people?
Yes, keyword reasonably required.
Reasonably. The devil's in the details, I understand that. How about health concerns about, I've read where some people are concerned about silica from concrete. Tell our plan commission members what you know about that.
Yeah, I think that's always a concern that comes from the community, in silica and cementitious materials. However, again, we've been in operation for 75+ years. We've got lots of employees that are around this on a day-to-day basis, and we have no knowledge or cases of health concerns related to silica. The other thing I might add is occasionally on an annual basis for more so internal auditing purposes, we will hire a company to come in and monitor those things with a respirator on our employees.
You are aware that we have committed that this rezone would be exclusively for the purpose of a ready-mix concrete plant. And if for some reason your company would decide to vacate the area or shift gears or not choose to continue to be here, the only use that would be allowed is a ready-mix concrete plant, whether it's your company or it's somebody else's, correct?
Correct.
Couldn't be converted to an asphalt plant or a steel mill or a hog rendering operation or some other thing that would be permitted in the I-2 district, correct?
Correct.
And you understand that limits your marketability of this property going forward.
We do.
Did your company do the concrete work for the expansion of I-65 from Lebanon north up to 47 in the last few years?
We did. It was a sister company, E&B Paving. But yes, they provided the material for that project and put a plant on the intersection of 47 and
There was a-
65.
Was that a batch plant, a small batch
Portable,
plant?
yes, portable ready-mix.
Are you familiar with the experiences that they had in pouring, I assume, an enormous quantity of concrete to add that third lane and bring it up to, all the way up to 47? There's always concerns about the impact from this project on water, groundwater, because you would use groundwater, would you not?
We would.
Are you satisfied there's enough groundwater in and around this site to accommodate your needs without impacting wells out in the Washington Township area?
Yes, we are.
What was the experience with regard to the enormous quantity of water that was used to put all the concrete on the new interstate? Did you have any complaints that your company had negatively impacted wells in that area?
None that I'm aware of.
And you are the CEO of Irving Materials, you would have heard that if there had been problems with wells because of that project?
I would like to think so.
And you would want to. So let's just assume that there are problems, that something happens that people didn't anticipate. What are some of the things that you could do
Yeah.
to eliminate or ameliorate the effects of your project on neighboring wells?
Yeah, so one option is if we put a retention pond in, we would have the abilities to recycle that water from the retention pond. The other option is we've got the option to put in containment to capture water or hold water storage, where we could truck or haul water in if needed. And
Have those been effective in cases where you really do have close wells that there's stress on those wells?
Yes.
You are aware that we have also made a commitment as part of our filing to provide some protection for neighboring property owners who may be able to prove or demonstrate that their wells are adversely impacted by what goes on your site? You're aware of that,
Yes.
and you agreed to that? Let me read to you what that says. It's identical to what was asked of Merritt, the developer of 47 Commons. They agreed to, and IMI's agreed the same. Quote, should the Indiana Department of Natural Resources determine in writing that uses on this property are materially and adversely impacting the operation of properly designed, located, installed, sized, and maintained private wells on neighboring lands beyond the confines of this property, then petitioner shall bear the cost of remedying impacts that result from uses on those properties. So that's a commitment that your company would make as part of the rezoning and would be bound by if the circumstances brought this into play, correct? We're about done. Let's see here. You also understand that part of this project requires some improvements to county roads in that area, and you can't get a building permit, probably a development plan approval, without making arrangements with the county highway to satisfy them. Is it fair to say that there's some conversations between your company, Great X, and Lawson as to what type of road improvements are needed, and it really depends upon whether you get approval or not?
Correct.
And if you don't get approval, then you're not going to be participating, but the roads that might be needed for what's there now may be different than if you're present, correct?
That is correct.
So that's an issue yet to be determined, but you can't start construction until this is resolved, can you?
That's correct.
To tell our listeners, I'm using my radio voice here all of a sudden, I didn't mean to. What kind of well you're talking about putting in to serve the site?
It's a typical well that you would probably more than likely see in any sort of light commercial or residential house. I don't think there's really anything that's special about the wells that we put in. We're looking to find the water, and it's a typical well.
What kind of capacity are you talking?
The capacity that we like to see, I'm gonna say, is typically 50 gallons per minute or more. And again, that's at high production ratios.
And when you say high production ratios, that means what?
When the volumes are high, when we might need that demand
Okay.
of concrete going out the plant.
What would be a typical daily usage on an average day?
Yeah, I'm gonna say at a facility like this, if you were to look at it from an annual basis, probably 150 to 200 cubic yards a day.
What's that translate into gallons?
So 40 gallons per cubic yard. So if you did the math, what's that?
4,000 to 6,000 gallons a day.
I'm gonna say 6,000 to 8,000 gallons a day probably.
And you can't necessarily take my word for it, because I don't have personal knowledge of this, but I was talking to Danny Lawson about this very thing. At times, he has 400 head of cattle on his property. There are not that many there now, there's very few, and he says we probably won't ever again have 400. But they have had 400. He says those 400 head of cattle use 25 to 30 gallons of water a day, each one. He says it takes about 10,000 gallons a day out of the ground for that cattle operation when it's fully located, fully in operation. So, which I found interesting, how much water the agricultural side of this community uses is more than what Calvin just indicated this site would use. Somebody else can check the math on that, but that's what he said. The septic system that you would need would have to be what kind of septic system?
Whatever is required is what we're
It's a
gonna.
commercial septic,
Yeah.
regulated by the state. How much outside material would be present within the confines of the 7-acre site? What sorts of things are outside?
The only things outside, we would obviously have some sort of retention more than likely.
Retention being,
A pond for the water disbursement.
okay?
We're gonna have storage for our aggregate, which would be stone, gravel, sand.
And where is it typically kept?
Typically within the parameters in a concrete wall, where we'll scoop it with a loader and feed it to the plant to make the product.
So it's outside, but it's secured or
Yes.
surrounded so it doesn't just wash away?
We'll have a fuel containment for diesel fuel for the equipment, and then we will also have a call a pit or where we're able to separate the solids and the dispersion of water.
Okay. Is there anything else, Calvin, that I have failed to bring up that you would like to mention while we're here? Maybe questions from the audience, or maybe questions from the planning commission members. Is there something else you wanted to say? I know we may be back at some point, but anything else while you're here?
Okay, I think you hit on most of it. I would like to say that, again, we understand the concerns that are gonna come forward. We've been through this many times. I do think that we're a good community engaged company that is very engaged with communities. We're not looking to cause havoc. We are willing and able to go above and beyond on some of these parameters that you want. Again, I want to stress that's within reason. So if we get to a berm scenario where we want higher berms or larger trees, we can discuss the roadways and all that. We're going to work on this.
Okay, thank you. That's all we have as a presentation at this point.
All right, thank you. Now we open the meeting to the public. Anybody that wants to speak for or against this petition, I would ask that you keep your comments directly related to the petition at hand.
Let's hope it first, on where's the power coming from?
Power.
Electric.
Electric.
We'll be doing our
Yeah.
Boom power.
Which way,
I'm sorry, Boone Power.
which way, east or west? To the plant? Are you coming up Danny Drive, or are you coming up from the west, from?
Is there any power currently serving that?
If I recall, it's coming from Danny's Drive.
Danny Drive?
Come on, 47.
The only thing I got, I'm not objecting to Danny putting cement in that plant in. I lost about 5 acres last year because of the water, because of the dry. I am, wherever your picture's at, I'm in Panfield,
Where are you, sir?
just south of you,
Just south.
south and the west.
But you're on the east side of 52 or the west of 52?
West side, I'm on both sides of 52. I will tell you, it's a bitch getting combined and somebody across the road. You're gonna have trouble unless you get the state to put a light in for getting that out. But I can't get across 52 with the combine, I just hope to make it each day.
Sir, you said that you lost 5 acres?
I lost about 5 acres because we had too much rain in May and June.
Okay.
And the driving got built up over time. And I talked to Danny a couple days ago, I had no problem with Danny, okay? I want this to go through, I've used your product for 45 years or 50, so that's not a problem.
Now, one clarification, this is not Danny Lawson's project, this is IMI's project.
I know that,
Okay.
Danny told me that.
No,
I went and talked to Danny before talking to you, man.
That's fine. He's selling the land to these
I
folks.
know that,
Okay,
but I'm the guy that's got to drive to the south of you,
I'm with you.
to the east. What's that?
Thank you. Did you guys get his name?
No, Ronnie, do you want to state your name for the record?
Ronnie L. Merrill.
Ronnie Merrill.
Yep.
Yep.
Address?
8982 west, 825 north, Thorntown.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
494163.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to speak?
Ben Crockett, 5875 North, 350 West. Nicole, I don't know if you can shift to the picture that has the distance to the houses.
Last slide.
I may have closed out of it.
Put my name on here.
We got time.
What was your address again, sir?
5875 North, 350 West. Area Planning Commission, Kent and I and my team, thanks for giving us a chance to come and share our thoughts. Danny stopped by and has visited with me, so I knew this was coming as well. And we reserved the papers also. There's a couple things I wanted to point out of why I object to the zoning change or have questions to it. Number one was highlighted in the summary that you read, Deb, that the use that is permitted right now for Lawson Aggregates LLC through the special exception approval needs to be restored. It hasn't been after that I-65 work was done. it's hard for me not to feel really uncomfortable about that. When you get to the picture, I'm in between B and D, so that 43 acre corner is where we're at. We actually get, between Tom and I, Tom is D, we get most of the dust that blows right now from the aggregate and recycling. Again, I get it, we live on a farm, we're used to dust, but that site feels like, and I told Danny this too, so I don't know if Danny's listening, but it feels like it hasn't been very regulated. And if you get a chance to drive out there and look at it, again, they're trying to do a good job, they're doing their best, but there's tires and tile and that's a bit uncomfortable to me that we move ahead with zoning this without taking care of that first.
Isn't there supposed to be a berm there as well?
There should be, but I don't know that anything's really been regulated, so it's just a big pile. And I think, so that's point number one, that's gotta be restored. I know that was highlighted by somebody in the summary. Number two was just a question of, is the IMI site dependent on the Lawson aggregate and recycling facility? Because obviously, if that re-permit doesn't go through, and there's a connection there, that I would want to make sure you guys are aware of that. We already worked really hard to go through a lot of discussion for 47 Commons and Shelby Materials. Do we need another concrete plant? We've got a local group that's here that is going to be driving the PUD there. Do we need another site? So, if point number four, if the Lebanon IMI is not taken care of, what will change at this site? It just makes me feel uncomfortable. And again, I don't know. I'd love to sit down and visit more, but it's hard not to feel a little concerned that something will change and that the new site will just be better. The dust mitigation, I just made that as a fifth point. While the I-65 project was going on, we tried to be super respectful and not cause a fuss. And while they were hauling and working on the I-65 project, they were going to keep the dust down. But the reality is, on dry days, when it gets running long, you don't have a water truck out there, it gets kind of rough. So those are just all points that are reasons why I at the moment would object to the zoning change.
Before you leave, Ben, can we ask IMI to answer the question about is the aggregate facility critical to the IMI operations?
Yeah, absolutely not. I'm gonna add that it is a benefit to us, since it's right there and he's recycling that product, but we've got other places that we would take it, and that's not necessary. I also wanna stress, I apologize, I understand your concerns, but I wanna say this out loud. This is an IMI operation. We're purchasing this land off of Danny. We have no intentions of operating like Danny has, and hopefully we can get those things corrected. And your question about, the current facility, that's a great question. There's absolutely no excuse as to why we've let it get to this point, but it has. It's been outdated for many years. We've talked about putting capital money in to fix it, and it's one of those, it's right in the middle of a city and a town. It's very hard to justify putting a new plant at that type of facility, so we let it go. If you go around and look at any of our new facilities that have been built within the last 10 years, they're very much upgraded and well taken care of. I want to also note the dust control. The one benefit that we have, and I'm not going to make a promise right now, but the intentions are, if we move in here, we're a concrete producing facility. So the drive would be concrete, even the drive going to the roadway, that would take time, it wouldn't be all the way, but that's going to definitely mitigate a lot of the dust. And I'm happy to sit down with you personally anytime.
Yeah, definitely, I think that'd be great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, I'm Kevin Prather, 45, 46 West, 650 North. I'm about midway between Rose Plant and Lebanon Wellfield. We've been there about 30 years. Anyway, I've been having problems with water for a while. too bad to me, until the reality is standing out there in the front pasture, seeing, I don't have water.
How deep did you say that well is?
183.
180?
I don't have a problem in the house or the barns, because the flow is not nearly that high. But right at the well, I have.
How old is your well, sir?
We had it put in, the house was built in 77. We had a new well put in, 06.
06?
A new well put in or a well pump put in?
New well.
A whole new well drilled?
Yeah,
And that's the one that's currently
yeah.
running dry.
I've been through 3 pumps now, because I've drawn sand. I don't know if the city of Lebanon did something different, to start drawing more. It had some sand problem, made up 3 pumps, so extra, got 2 wells now, going through 3 pumps, for replacement pressure pump again. But the sand problem isn't as bad as it was, but now we got a big challenge with water. Again, I have a hard time supporting this, facing the reality of split 40 minutes of water.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else?
While they're talking about it, I got a 10-inch well, and 10-inch pipe underneath the road, drainage. You guys are gonna be driving over, it. You probably have to do something on that at some point. It's not my ground, but it's on farm.
Yep.
My name is Jane Weber. I live at 4739 West State Road 47 in Thorntown, which that is in what they call Garden Acres. It's right between Laurel and Eastern Parkway. It is exactly 0.7 miles from Lawson Farms, Lawson Aggregates, either of the driveways. Because right now, the aggregates, they use the driveway right in front of their house for the dump trucks. And I understand that you guys don't plan on using that, but it is being used right now. We used to use, was it 450, right, that county road? We don't use that anymore. Dump trucks have torn it up. It's, I know that, again, you guys say you're gonna fix it, but, anyway, so I just wanna say that, we already have, Shelby going in, down the road. I just wonder, why do we need two concrete plants within a mile of us? And if they're gonna put this at 450 and 52, are we gonna need another stoplight right there for all this traffic coming in and out? And then I'd like to ask, can I ask them a question directly? Because you mentioned you'll have dust collectors. How often do you guys clean the dust collector?
Well, in our new one, it's a cartridge, but on our older facilities, they're bags, so it can be a gruesome task to do so. The new systems are automated, so realistically, it's checked on a daily basis.
Okay. And then I also noticed that it said the hours of operation, normal operation, are 7 to 5. I mean, obviously, I don't know but I know people that work in this business. It's not a,
Yeah.
7 to 5, like it's gonna be 1, 2, 3 in the morning when it's needed, right?
That's a fair statement and a very good question. But again, I want to stress that this location is realistically going to be built for the day-to-day usage in the community, not these big, large pours. We've got other facilities that are within that radius that can reach those that aren't in communities, but they're causing havocs because of that. So Westfield is a plant that will run 24, or not Westfield, I'm sorry, Whitestown is a plant that will run 24 hours, and a very productive plant that's capable of meeting the needs for those large-scale projects.
But is this, this would be a similar, operation to what you have in Lebanon, or it's smaller?
It's probably similar size, just upgraded. So to give you an example, just to point out, the Whitestown facility is capable of probably 250 cubic yards an hour. This facility is probably gonna be capable of about 100 cubic yards per hour.
And I also wanted to, touch on because, first of all, I'd like to say that, I do apologize, we had to bring our small child, because I just learned about this 2 days ago, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
But anyway, so.
We all have kids.
Yeah.
I bet
I'm just
everyone
saying,
in here.
I wanted to come and, voice my opinion. I feel like, everything that's been happening around Lebanon, I haven't voiced my opinion at all, and here we are. And I'm just kind of wondering, where do we draw the line? That's all been Lebanon, and now we're getting into Thorntown. And it's right down the road from me, and I don't want to, I'm sorry, I don't. I mean, you even said yourself, who wants, a concrete plant in their backyard? I don't. When the time comes, what's the property value of our house gonna be with a, concrete batch plant half a mile down the road?
All right.
Well, if it needs concrete, maybe worth a little bit more.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hilda Mata, address is 275 West, 455 275 West. We're on, I think if you go to the map, we're like east of this. So I feel like we've just been very blessed the last couple of years with all the fun development that's going up on that corner. So on the overlay district, which we spent, what, $800,000 tax dollars to decide what can and can't go in that area. We restricted, you can only have one gas station, one Dollar Tree, one McDonald's, and we fought and fought and fought when we were talking about 47 Commons, which is across the street from that. We fought Merritt, Jake, and Tom on having two in the PUD. And our bond of contention was, we're not gonna have a PUD, we're not gonna pass it with a concrete, ready cement, whatever, mix facility. They had two. We relented on one. And we said, last time we were here, we're not gonna have two of everything right next to each other. Here we are, less than 6 months later. How is this different than having two McDonald's across the street from each other? How is this, why do we have an overlay district? I just keep asking that question. Why did we spend close to $1 million for nothing that we're following? Do I get a refund? My taxpayer money, because we're not following any of it. We just
This is
implemented it
outside
and
that
amending it
overlay
and amending
district.
it. So why do we need two ready mix facilities right next to each other? Quite literally across the street from each other. It's not a rhetorical question, why? Okay, I'm assuming in town you run utilities and sewer, right? So if somebody make it make sense, so we're gonna close that down, that at least has water and sewer and can be treated, and all the washout can be treated. We're gonna move it up there, where we already have 47 Commons, a PUD and a concrete facility. When all of that's running, then we're gonna add one more, drill a well, and sit here and tell everybody there's enough water. I have not seen anything anywhere in the application, in the presentation, that shows us that, other than me and you and so-and-so saying there's enough water in the ground for all of us, that there is enough water. We're just hoping, crossing our fingers, that if we just keep pumping tens of thousands of gallons of water a day for everybody, those of us commitments that we're just gonna have DNR come out and test our wells, and if they go low, then maybe we have recourse. Why? You said that in the application, I saw that you're gonna have, during the busiest times, you probably might have up to like 500 cubic yards a day, which is about, 100 cubic yards, about 20 vehicles, you said, in the application, about 20 vehicles, correct? So 20 times 5, about 100 vehicles? Where is all that washout gonna go once it rains them all out? Where does it go?
On the site, it would be scheduled or designed, but to a retention more than likely.
And then does that get treated or
It
just
gets
dumped
treated,
or
yes.
what would it?
Treated.
So in this retention pond, how do we keep all that, I don't know enough about cement to tell you anything, how do you keep that from going back into the well water and the water that we use?
It's monitored and treated.
So it's like a liner of some sort, or?
There's a containment that separates the solids, yes, and we have to check the pH levels.
So I'm opposed to this. We talked about this the 3 times we were talking about 47 commons. We are restricting the number of gas stations they're allowed to have. I don't see how this is setting a precedence for anybody else to do whatever they want, like up there, when we have already guidelines on what can and can't go up there. They're already on well and utility. Why can't we wait until we have water? Donnie keeps saying that if businesses express interest, then people will bring water out. But I have never once heard anyone tell us, and you've asked and asked and asked, name one company that is willing to say after X number of companies come up there, then we will bring water so that eventually 47 Commons and whatever else goes up there finally gets hooked up to utilities. There's nobody. I have not had a plan. I have not heard any commitments from anybody that 10 years from now there's going to be water or whatever. We're just crossing our fingers and hoping that those of us that live up there that have to deal with all of this will somehow magically just be okay with all of this development that's going up there. I'm not opposed to development. Yes, we were dumb enough to live in the country or whatever close to where the development's going to come. I'm not opposed to all of that. I'm just saying there's got to be some level of responsible development where infrastructure somewhat keeps up with what we're trying to throw up there.
Thank you. Anybody?
Good evening. My name's David Hilger. I live at 5934 North, 450 West. So Nicole, I don't know if you brought up that big map that you did in here. If you look on that map, I'm in that A block. If you, so I have very intimate knowledge of where this location is, what current traffic looks like, and what proposed traffic look like. I'm also very intimate with what the water concerns are. So it's hard to support this project for some of the reasons that have already been established. And Shelby is putting a plant not too far away, half mile at the most. Yeah, I get that they need to move. IMI's a great company. I'm not bashing the company whatsoever, but the location and proximity to other plant that's also being a big water draw on top of everything else, because we all are on wells up there. To think that we're not gonna draw the water down, and I get it, they had their temporary plant up along 65 for what, 2 years, was it up there? Didn't have an issue. This is not a 2-year plan. This is a permanent plan. This is their, what's your current plan? 50 years, 60 years? So that's 60 years of water draw. And to say, well, it's only gonna be putting out, 20 or 200 to 300 yards a day, maybe not. Maybe it's 500. Maybe this plant gets expanded to larger because we're growing, more houses, more businesses, more needs. So that number can expand. I assume they're gonna build to where they can have expansion opportunities. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? You're gonna put the money into the ground, do it right. So we have that issue. We have traffic issues. With all due respect to your lawyer, the frontage marking that they showed does not touch 450. It actually just butts up next to 52. That corner is horrendous. If you've ever had an opportunity, please drive that. Go out 52, try going on to 450. Better yet, come down 450 from the north and try to turn off onto 52. It is not pleasant. Do it during the middle of the day when there's a lot of traffic and vehicles turning in there, and you'll know what kind of challenges that's going to be. Especially when we start talking about triaxles and semis coming in that way. There's just not enough room. Now, I understand you're going to expand it, but honestly, without a traffic light, it's accidents just going to happen. You're going across 4 lanes of very, very busy traffic with nothing to stop people other than a truck in your way. I've almost had accidents there. I've been trying to, I pull trailers all the time. I have truck difficulties pulling in and out there. And you put a cement mixer in the middle of that intersection, now we're talking about some serious issues. So a proposal I would suggest is maybe looking at a direct access onto 52. Circumvent the whole 450 and just go right onto 52 and build it a dedicated access right onto the highway, if that's the way you need to go. Because right now you're making 3 sharp turns to try to get into this lane. So that, again, is going to be a problem. And it is a little county road. It's not made for what this business is going to need. And then finally, property values. You know, none of us want to live next to a ready mix plant. However, you know, times change, things get built. When we look at how this affects us, the question is this the right place to put it? Again, I think some of the literature says, you know, there's no residence within reason. I'm 4,000 feet away. What do you call proximity? That's 4,000 feet. Measured off 1,500 paces from my front door to where this plant's going to be. That seems pretty close to me. There's people a lot closer than I am. I'm all the way up at the north corner of 450. There's people that are right across the street from it. So let's really consider this effectively, you know, in our good thought and, you know, put expert opinions to this. Talk about water usage. I think somewhere in the document it talks about doing a 72-hour drawdown. My question is, when are they going to do that study? They're going to do it in the middle of the winter when nobody's using water for agriculture uses or crops or trees? Or are we going to do it in August when it's the driest? Because that's when our wells go dry, middle of the summer. So if they're pulling water, Shelby's pulling water, fields are pulling water for crops, pulling water for cattle, pulling water for homes, we're out of water pretty easily. So, again, I would support you all really thinking seriously about what this is going to do to the residents. Last month you did a great job at protecting us with utilities. I just hope you do the same here, and you look out for the citizens.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Anybody from the public want to speak for or against this petition? IMI folks?
Thank you. We wanted to have this conversation tonight because we want to hear from the neighbors. Some of these problems are perhaps fixable. Some of the ideas are perhaps good ideas. We wanted you to get a better idea about the facts of what we're talking about rather than what you might have read on the internet or heard from street corner conversation. I just have a few observations. We've had, one fellow said 47 Commons is a mile away, which is probably pretty close. Another lady said just across the street. But it isn't just across the street. We've got to stick to the facts. Whatever 47 Commons offered up in terms of what sort of limitation on uses they had as part of the PV are well and good. They can't dictate to the rest of the world whether they can put a business on their land any more than somebody could say, well, Mrs. Basso's house shouldn't be there. We don't have enough water to accommodate half the people living out there. They shouldn't have been given a building permit. I mean, what if that was gonna be the rule? We got one grocery store in town, we got a rural zoning ordinance that says you can't have another grocery store. Maybe the new grocery store is actually a better grocery store than the one that's there. I mean, zoning is typically not supposed to pick and choose winners in the economy, American economy. It's a land use determination, not how many grocery stores can we accommodate, how many batch plants can we accommodate. We're talking about a local Shelby. There's nothing local about Shelby Materials. They're not in Boone County. They've never been in Boone County. They're the out-of-town people. IMI's here. They got 7 employees who all live here. Are we gonna decide zoning issues based on?
Pardon me a second, I hate to interrupt, but I have a hard time hearing, and I can't hear you with that gentleman back there speaking. Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't need to repeat myself, do I?
No.
I get impact on water, legitimate concern. But let's be fair, are houses gonna be limited? I don't see any. We just approved 3 houses out in the rural area tonight. Not one person stood up and said, we don't wanna lose any more farmland. But you know, somehow, some farmland is supposed to be sacred, some uses are not popular, so we're gonna use the farmland excuse to oppose this use. But when somebody wants to put 3 houses on 7 acres, nobody says a word.
Sorry, you can't speak. I'm sorry. Public part's over.
The traffic issues, I think, are legitimate. We're talking about a state highway. We have no control over what traffic is on the state highway. Maybe there's a way to manage that traffic better. We know these trucks are gonna have to be able to get in and out safely. Maybe the current configuration is not the right configuration. Fine, but maybe it can be addressed, maybe it can be fixed. Are you gonna turn down somebody's use of a piece of property because the roads are not designed correctly? Well, let's let the roads get redesigned as part of the project. It's how it's supposed to work. Think about where does an IMI go? Say you recommend no, commissioners vote yes, vote no, whatever. We know they can vote no. If you recommend no, they may very well vote no. So where does an IMI go? All right, put yourself in IMI's position. We know that people are paranoid about the appearance, the aesthetics, or the water, impact on the water. There's nothing I'm going to be able to say or do to satisfy them. We hire a water consultant, which we can do. They'll say, well, they just got paid by IMI. Why do we trust them? Where do you go? We got an area, 400 feet, 400 acres of bare land next to a rock crushing operation, a half a mile from the nearest home. There's a lot of positives about that location. If you got to be somewhere in northern Boone County, I'm telling you, put your thinking cap on and tell us where we ought to go. There's no place we're going to go where they're going to have a room full of people opposed, because either they don't want to look at it, or they don't want to hear it, or they don't want the trucks to go by their house, or they don't want to have the water reduced. I get all of that, but they need concrete. We need concrete to function. They want the new restaurant, they want a better driveway, they want better roads, they want to put a swimming pool in their backyard and you need a deck. We can't just say, well, yes, we just don't have a concrete supplier because the zoning ordinance won't allow any concrete companies in our county. And the first one who gets here shouldn't necessarily decide. Shelby beat IMI to the punch, okay, fine. That means Shelby somehow can keep competition out. Talk about price impacts. They don't have any competition. We know there aren't many of these batch plants plants that can service Lebanon, because they can only go about a half an hour and the stuff hardens. So, the idea that we already got one, that's all we need, we may wish you had more than one someday. So, these are just my off-the-cuff observations. I appreciate the people coming. I think they make some legitimate points. I'll end with this. When the owners of the Indianapolis 500 wanted to put the track in rural Indianapolis, where'd they put it? They put it on 16th Street. That was outside of the city. When the Lilly family wanted to move out of the city and get out in the country and build their big, nice mansions, where did they build them? 38th and White Railroad, which is now the Indianapolis Art Museum. That was not the city. When the owners of St. Vincent Hospital decided we needed another hospital, even though we had plenty, they needed another hospital. Where did they put it? They put it on 86th Street, then called State Road 100. People thought they're out of their mind. There's nothing out there. Why would they put a hospital out there? Today, when you go on 86th Street, you feel like you're darn near downtown Indianapolis. My point is, the city's growing. Indianapolis metropolitan area is expanding. The development pressure is coming. And these folks who've chosen to live where they live, a lot of them are because they want to work downtown. They live out here, they like the country, but they work downtown. They want to go to the airport, they want to go to the shopping, but they don't want anybody else to come in because of the impacts it will have on them. They don't want the traffic, they don't want the trucks. It's not the way it works. We've got to have a balance, and we've got to have development. And you folks have to manage that with the help of the county commissioners and the staff. I think this is doable. We're going to have to make some changes, but I think the changes can be made. And I can guarantee you, there's a lot of batch plants that are within less than 4,000 square feet of $500,000 homes in Westfield, Indiana. Those people are not don't have any problem with batch plant. So, I appreciate your time, and we will certainly work on this and see if we can make progress. I know it took a while to get 47 commons approved. Some people weren't happy, but the process resulted in a better project. Whether it's ever going to be on city water, we don't have any control over city water. The city isn't going to let people in the county attack to their water lines. You got to be in the city to get city water. So it's more complicated. So we'll just hook onto the city's lines. The city doesn't want us to hook onto their lines unless we're going to be in the city. And we can't get into the city just because we want to be in the city. So thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Close the meeting to the public, open to the board for discussion.
Is the current Lebanon facility on city water and sewer? So, do you differentiate what's used for what?
Well, mostly for the operation of the city for bathrooms. But it varies.
So most of the use then is coming from a well currently? I had a comment, and just for the record, it's probably not critical. On page 3 of your report, the highway department, I think there might be a typo.
Inadequate. Yeah.
The Boone County Highway does not support the zone map without infrastructure improvements, and its intersection with 52. Okay, next sentence. There is currently adequate infrastructure to facilitate traffic use. I think they meant is not, because then the next sentence they go on to explain why there is not. So just maybe, do you agree?
That sounds logical to me. We basically copy and paste their report into our staff
So,
report.
yeah, since that's a part of the record, we should change or assume that should be changed, because the next sentence beyond that says traffic accessing the site will use 450 west, and that will cause continuous maintenance issues for the highway department. So I don't think they would have said that if they thought that it currently was adequate. Does everybody agree?
I do. I made note of that too. So, you stole my thunder. Matt, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, we had a question. I mean, you talk about not using this plant for the high demand or the high capacity. Since the Lilly projects have started, how many times have you used the Lebanon plant to supply the concrete?
Quite a bit, yes.
Okay. And you anticipate probably, I mean,
But
you
I
say,
want to reiterate that the focus is, we haven't used that plant for any of the night pours or minimal night pours. The heavy production, high volume scenarios are out of that Whitestown plant. Will we use this plant to help supplement in some scenarios? More than likely that will happen. But we have lost focus in the local community and the day-to-day business because of all the support that's coming. And this plant will be dedicated for that focus.
okay. So that was gonna be my next question is, you have not used this plant for any, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning pours?
The current Lebanon in town?
Yes.
We have.
You
in the
have?
past, yes.
Okay.
Especially prior to putting the new Whitestown facility up.
Prior to,
How long's that plant, the Whitestown
It's been
facility been up?
complete probably 2 years now. It's been there for a long time, but we put a new plant, a highly productive plant in place.
so prior to it was not a high-capacity plant?
Correct.
So Whitestown started out smaller and then you expanded?
Whitestown, it was an acquisition, it used to be Prairie. It was a small, similar plant to what we have here in the city of Lebanon. And because of the demand, we built that into a productive plant, and it's in an area where it's not disrupting the community. So we look at that as a high productive, and we'll run that in nighttime when needed.
If you had increased demand for this plant, would you increase productivity and expand?
It's limited because of the size of it, so I mean, it can't do the production that the big plants do because of just the nature of the size of the plant.
An investment on a plant like this, just for the plant itself, is probably roughly $2.5 million. So again, when we put it in there, we expect it to last 30 years, give or take. We don't have any intentions of making it a higher productive plant, especially with some of the surrounding facilities that can meet those demands.
Matt, you had more, Matt?
Not right now.
A free-for-all discussion,
I know.
so there's no limit to anybody's talking.
I guess one other comment or question that I did have was, you talked about, for dust control, and it's been brought up by, some of the residents that, with the rock operation. So how would you determine when you would, I guess it's gonna be a two-part question. Number one, how would you determine when, there's too much dust, and so you're gonna water the site?
Yeah, for us, I just want to make sure that we have no control over Danny's operation. That's a separate entity.
Understood.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that. But for us, it's more of a visual. If we see clouds of dust or dust sparking from the trucks coming in and out, typically we water those down to control that. Again, those are typically where you get the high dust production is more in a stone-based road or a gravel roadway. Out of the gates, are we gonna have some of that? Yes, more than likely, but eventually we plan on paving that entire entity with concrete, where we can keep it clean and extra debris off.
What would be the eventuality timeframe?
I don't wanna put like a hard timetable to that, because realistically what we do is we use leftover concrete from the facility to do that, so it's over a period of time and what we can.
One of the commitments that the Shelby facility made in the PUD was that it would be concrete out of the gate.
So I wanna stress this. Around the facility itself and the entryway close to the facility, we plan on concrete right out of the gates. There's a long drive that ties into that 52 or 450, or whatever you wanna call it. That's what we would anticipate doing over time.
Okay.
I think what Jay was saying was, the
Shelby Materials has a commitment of concreting their entire facility. You know, is that something that, number one, you consider, or that you have it in your plans?
That's something that we consider, and in all reality, most of the new facilities that we put up, we put concrete all around them.
That's all I have.
I'm gonna ask a couple before Ted kicks in. 'Cause he's got paper.
Or before I start talking.
And then they're gonna be like, Dustin, you seem awful quiet, but, first of all, I think it's admirable that you admit that really no one wants to live around one of those, right? That's a tough pill to swallow when you're trying to sell us on this idea, right? So, that actually means something that you admit it. But to go along with it, I am just kinda curious, how far away do you guys live from one?
Myself,
Yeah.
I live probably, I'm gonna say 4 miles from an underground stone quarry.
No more than 30 minutes though, because we can't get to you.
But to answer the question, is one within a half a mile of me? No.
That's fair.
And I understand that, I just want to stress there, if there were an option for us to stay away from those communities, we would look into those. There's really not options in today's world, and this is a product that's needed within these communities.
So, what have we entertained, or what are we not pursuing? Like maybe a small temporary one while you rebuild the one in Lebanon where you're already at?
That's still an option on the table, without a doubt. It's a much more costly option, and again, it's limited space there. And with the growth that comes, this opportunity that we're looking at, we're purchasing roughly 7 or 8 acres. What we have right now in Lebanon is 3.5 acres. It's old, it's tight, and it's not, from a safety factor, the best ideal situation for us.
Have you looked at locations within the city of Lebanon which has unlimited water?
We have,
I'll get to that.
Sorry. I spoke out of turn.
But if I knew you were bringing that many questions, I'd have brought popcorn.
I know, she got pop. Well, I like the idea that your plan is a lot smaller than what I envisioned, because when I envisioned it, it was right out of like, I don't even know, maybe Moonraker. I was like, ooh, we're not putting that out there. So that makes me feel better. I would agree with whoever said that you probably would look at expanding later down the road. I find it hard to believe that you want it, but if that's, maybe later you'll build one in Thorntown because you need to get closer to the connector between 74 and 65, like that would ever happen. Anyway, we won't talk about that.
I'm not gonna sit here and candy coat it and say that 20, 30 years down the road, we wouldn't look at expanding. I don't have the answers there. What I can tell you right now, for what's come into play, and especially with the Lilies and these Meadows and these big projects, we have surrounding facilities that meet the needs. The purpose for this is to help supplement that, but more again, focus on the local day-to-day needs.
Well, I like to hear that you're projecting a lot of houses going in out that way, so.
Are you
schools
are you
need that.
designing the facility for expansion?
It is
No.
not currently.
No.
All right, fella. I might have had some other good things to say. Oh, let's go to that growth, because I got notes everywhere, so we're just gonna be jumping around. In regards to that, where could you go? Have you spoken to any of these landowners that did not sell or haven't been approached recently by the IEDC within LEAP? Because there's people out there that are stuck on certain roads, I don't know if they can see me, but that own 12 acres that the IEDC's just fallen off the face of the earth. I know that the IEDC isn't probably willing to sit down at the table with you for such a $2 million project, probably isn't gonna work, but I didn't know if you'd looked into that. I'm just throwing that out there because John was like, have you talked to anybody else? And Kent and I have spoke about the Turner project. I felt like that project wasn't an overlay district, and we spent almost $1 million doing that. We sat down and spent so much time and gave everybody a chance, commissioners, the public. I mean, we spent a lot of time, they're my friends and family, and they could be you. And I was like, man, what do you guys think about all this? I don't want to have IMI across the street from me on John Bar Road, but I understand growth's coming. So that overlay district, we did all that work to try to figure out, hey man, things are coming. And I tried to do it 20 years ago, and everybody was like, oh no. I mean, has it been that long, Kent? 20 years? I don't even know how long ago it was, but we had an opportunity here to have some growth, but people wouldn't come here because of the perception that if I bring, I'll use the Purdue Research Facility. I'm just gonna pull that out of nowhere. And they come up here and they drive our community, and you're like, I do not want an IMI beside me, or I do not want a XYZ beside me. How the heck did that end up looking like that? Let's use the gateway coming north on 65 back in the day. Like as you come into our community, you drive along 65, look to the left, right, and you'd be like, whoa, no way of controlling any of that. So this overlay district that we just put through, I felt like it gave us an opportunity to come in and say, hey, this is what we want to see, not just us on the Area Planning Commission or the commissioners, but the whole community had a voice in that. And then Merritt comes in. And I felt like that area is gonna grow, and I really don't wanna see that go to Lebanon. And if it does, I wanna see the county get a piece of it in some way, shape, or form. I don't want it to be Lebanon. I don't want you, I mean, if I could steal you out of Lebanon, that'd be great. Nothing against Lebanon, but it's a win for us out in the country. So then that came into play, and we let that go through because I felt like the commissioners put us in a pinch and said, if you don't do it, we're gonna spot zone it anyway, so it doesn't matter what you do up here, even though you guys put in that overlay district. So here we are with a spot zone, and I'm like, man, why can't you go in the overlay district? I mean, I know why it's easier to go out there in that parcel, and you don't have to fight. You're gonna fight this fight no matter where you go. No way to make everybody happy. But I'm like, man, that's why we made the overlay district. So we got through that, we got through this solar, now we're in the middle of our comp plan. And so Kent's like, where do we go? Well, now that's open to the public, so the public can have a voice, and Tad Brainer's not deciding where you go, or John's not deciding, so that's open to the public. Kent can go in there, Pell can go in there, we all can go in there and have a voice and say, this is what we wanna see for our community. There's no way to keep IMI out of here. We have to have it. I realize that, I think we all realize that, so that has to be part of our community. And like businesses, we can't all just be, I don't even know what the heck people want, a garden stand every corner. That's not gonna happen, so we have to have that plan that says this is what's gonna happen. I feel like you may wanna present this better, one. When Merritt came in here, man, we had met, they had a plan. I mean, it wasn't, we don't know how high our berms are gonna be. I mean, I wanted a 23-foot berm or something. I don't know, it wasn't 23, I think 16, 12, something. I did, I was like, man, we're gonna put you out there as a concrete plant, we're gonna cover you up. Because I was familiar with the one on 267, and I drive past it all the time. So I think you would need a better plan. I think the public would wanna see your renderings like they did and say, hey, this is what our stuff's gonna look like. We're not gonna intrude out here in the middle of nowhere. I think that would help you tremendously, because then they get a voice and they can say, well, we don't like the look of their plantings or whatever it may be. Because eventually, as much as we show up in these meetings, growth is coming. We know that. We're in the middle of visiting our comprehensive plan, so I think the public better show up, because if they don't, it'll be us making those decisions. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And I just wish you would've had some renderings that would've had berms and different things like that. And I know you don't wanna spend the money, cause I've watched people come in here and they're like, I got these beautiful drawings, and we're like, no. Oh, they're like, man, I wish, meeting with the
And that's a
neighbors.
fair statement that you make, and I just wanna address that in the past, when we've done some of these, we can come up with all the renderings that you want. But what we're here to do is meet whatever's required, and we're open to discussing anything that the general public or you guys want to add to that.
My next fear, I got a gazillion of them, is that water usage. I live here, I'm on a well as well, and I go back to my washing machine in my house, and I've replaced my pump, and I hope to God I don't have to drill a new well, because if I do, I will really be mad at the powers that be. But there's a difference in the time that it takes to fill that damn washing machine. I bought that washing machine because it was like 20 minutes, my wife was done, and we could go do stuff, right? You got a wife and kids, and you're like, your wife's always doing laundry, and so now it takes 50 minutes. And I don't know if that's my pressure switch or what, but I'm concerned just like everybody else is. I live here, and you putting more stress on that water, and they're bringing water, and we all think water's coming, it's gonna save us. There's no guarantees, and then we don't get water up there. We got you pulling, them pulling. Cows gotta be watered, and all of a sudden, we dry up people's wells. We can go back and say, I talked to John about this, with the renewable energy project, they had put some bonds in place that were incredible to protect the public. That wasn't required of merit. To move forward, if you come in here, I think that that's what I would like to see our board do, is have those bonds in place to protect the public should their wells go out. Just so you're aware, I think that that's a safeguard that we missed on that project that we didn't have that in front of us then. I was like, man, that's a great idea. Because there's no guarantee IMI is gonna be there tomorrow.
Sure.
I mean, I hope they're there forever, but I know how the game works. So I thought I'd bring that up to you as well. You know, it's frustrating, a lot of these things. I saw some posts and they were like, man, I knew that was on the agenda a year ago. I knew that was on the agenda 2 years ago. I'd heard talk about that 2 years ago. I live here and go in people's houses every day, hadn't really heard any of that. But if that's the case, now why didn't that get brought up when we were doing this overlay district, right? I mean, you guys weren't part of it, but it's frustrating for me if people out there knew that Merritt Commons and all these things were out there, and why don't we plan better? I mean, I was sitting here for 2-3 years working on that thing, and I wish somebody would've said, man, you guys, we got this PUD we wanna put in, or we have the, man, if they would've done that, that would've changed a lot of those things that we, you know, it's tough to sit down with the public and say, hey, we're gonna allow industrial down the road from you, but it has to happen. Somewhere it's gotta happen. It's just how it is. No way to circumvent it. So, see if I'm missing anything here. I'm sure I am, because I wrote notes all over the place. Comprehensive plan. I don't know how far we are away from that, from where it's really being hammered out, but we're not far. So I think that, I wouldn't like, if you find somebody out there that's got 12 acres in the middle of it, I'd jump on it in a heartbeat just to burn the IEDC. I'd be like, you should have bought it. Now I got my plant right here. But, well, that's part of the game. You know, a lot of those people are not even on the drawing board for them anymore. They're sitting out there mad. You know, they may not get millions of dollars for their property now, but they want to get out. I mean, that's just something I would visit, just saying. Because I think there's some people sitting out there that probably would sell them. If not, I wouldn't give up, just because of the fact that that comp plan, I know that they're working on it, and it is definitely something that is a public project. And so we've had a lot of input, and it's been brought up by board members that we need a place for I-2 to go. And we know that, and I know it's not convenient for that area, but I love the fact that you're conscious enough to say, man, I'm in the middle of this field. I'm not right up here beside these houses. You could easily came in here. That was one of the things that R.L. Turner, I mean, they were stuck right between two houses, and I was like, you know, nobody wants that, but because of the fact that just tells you a lot about your company. So, and I got a lot of guys that work there I love, so it's a good place. I won't go through the rest of this. There's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
That was like 15 cents.
Easy.
Yeah.
You want 2 drinks, you
More-
Thank you for keeping it short, Ted.
More than, more than
No
two.
tears tonight.
well,
You look like to look forward to now, young lady.
Yeah. I can't imagine that you guys drove by that site and said, without incorporating the aggregate pile into your plan, and said, this is where we want to put a cement plant. I can't help but think that the two are intrinsically connected.
There is a connection, but it's not a needed connection. And again, I want to reiterate, a lot So it is nice having an establishment right next to us. We also looked at, hey, there's a crushing facility in the middle of this field, seems like a good area for us to be next to. But do we need that business next to us? Absolutely not. That doesn't affect.
We can't use his product, right now. We strictly use his land for our leftovers.
Yeah, I thought it was a part-time thing when it came through here years ago. I thought there was supposed to be a protective berm, and it's escalated into, when I drive down the road, I'm like, what the?
Again, I can't speak, we can't
I know.
speak for Danny, but I can tell you that we will meet the requirements that are put out there and operate how we should.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan of spot zoning. I think that's pretty apparent, and not a fan of flag